"Look how she burned the turkey," my son announced to the entire table, his voice dripping with contempt. Every head turned toward me. My daughter-in-law Jessica smirked. My daughter Sarah's fork froze midway to her mouth. The crystal chandelier above us, the one my late husband Robert and I picked out 30 years ago, cast harsh shadows across their faces. I didn't burn it. I served it raw on purpose. My name is Caroline Mitchell, though everyone calls me Carrie, and I'm speaking to you from my dining room in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where I just served the most memorable Thanksgiving dinner of my life. Before I tell you what happened next, I want to know, where are you watching from? Drop a comment below because what I'm about to share could happen to anyone, anywhere. And if you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted with your whole heart, you'll understand every single word. Let me take you back to 3 hours earlier. The November sun was already setting when my son Marcus and his wife Jessica arrived. My daughter Sarah had come the night before to help with preparations, or so I thought. Really, she was there for moral support for what I was about to do. Marcus strode through my front door like he owned the place, expensive cologne announcing his arrival before he did. Jessica followed, her designer handbag probably costing more than my monthly pension. "Mom, something smells weird," Marcus called out, heading straight for my kitchen without so much as a hello. "It's the turkey, sweetheart," I replied, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "Just finishing up." I'd been cooking Thanksgiving dinner in this house for 42 years. I knew exactly what I was doing. That turkey was raw for a reason, and that reason was currently inspecting my wine cabinet like he was selecting bottles for his own collection. My husband Robert died 4 years ago. Heart attack, sudden and brutal, leaving me alone in this 4-bedroom house with nothing but memories and a decent life insurance payout. Robert had been a mechanical engineer, careful with money, smart about investments. We'd saved well. The life insurance, combined with our savings and his pension, left me comfortable. Not wealthy, but comfortable. Enough to live on. Enough to help our kids if they needed it, enough to maybe take that trip to Ireland I'd always dreamed about. Or at least, that's what I thought until 6 weeks ago. Marcus had always been my golden boy. Quarterback in high school, business degree from UNC, married to a lawyer. He drove a BMW and lived in a neighborhood where the houses had names instead of just numbers. He was successful, or so everyone believed. I believed it too, until the day I walked into First National Bank to wire money for my new roof, and Martha, the bank manager I'd known for 20 years, asked me if everything was okay. Of course, Martha. Why? She'd lowered her voice, glancing around. "It's just, there's been a lot of activity on your account lately. Large transfers. I wanted to make sure it was actually you making them." That's when my perfect world cracked wide open. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me bring you back to Thanksgiving dinner. We gathered around the table at 6 o'clock sharp, just like we had every year since the kids were small. The table was set with my mother's china, the good silverware, the linen napkins I only brought out for holidays. Sarah sat to my right. Her jaw clenched so tight I worried she'd crack a tooth. Marcus took his usual seat at the head of the table, Robert's old spot, without asking. Jessica settled beside him, already scrolling through her phone. "Jessica, dear, could you put that away?" I asked sweetly. "It's Thanksgiving." She looked up, surprised anyone would dare make such a request. "Oh, sure, Carrie." But the phone stayed on the table, screen side up. I brought out the sides first. My famous sweet potato casserole with the pecan topping, green bean almondine, homemade cranberry sauce, not that canned nonsense, buttermilk biscuits that were still warm. Sarah helped me carry the dishes, her hands trembling slightly. She was the only one who knew what was coming. "This looks amazing, Mom," Sarah said, her voice a little too bright. "Where's the turkey?" Marcus asked, checking his watch. "I've got a conference call with Singapore at 8. Can we speed this up?" A conference call. On Thanksgiving. With Singapore. The lies came so easily to him now. "Coming right up, sweetheart." I returned to the kitchen and pulled the turkey from the oven. It sat there, pale and pink and absolutely gloriously raw. The meat thermometer I deliberately removed hours ago lay in the sink. I placed the bird on my grandmother's antique serving platter, another family heirloom, and carried it to the dining room. The silence when I set it down was deafening. Marcus stared. Jessica's mouth fell open. Even Sarah, who'd known the plan, looked momentarily shocked at the visual reality of it. "Mom," Marcus said slowly, "that turkey is raw." "Is it?" I tilted my head, examining it like I was seeing it for the first time. "It's completely raw. The inside is basically still frozen. What the hell happened?" "Language, Marcus. It's Thanksgiving." He stood up, his chair scraping against my hardwood floors. "Did you even cook this? How long was it in the oven?" "Oh, about 30 minutes, I said cheerfully. I thought that would be enough. 30 minutes? Mom, are you losing it? A turkey this size needs at least 4 hours, maybe 5. He turned to Jessica. "I told you we should have gone to your parents' house." That's when he said it, the words that gave me the perfect opening. "Look how she burned the turkey," he announced, gesturing dramatically at the pale, raw bird. "She can't even cook Thanksgiving dinner anymore. This is ridiculous." I smiled, set down my wine glass, smoothed my napkin across my lap. "You're absolutely right, Marcus," I said quietly. "I can't do anything right anymore." I reached beside my chair and pulled out the folder I'd placed there an hour earlier. Manila, thick with papers, the edges slightly worn from how many times I'd opened it over the past 6 weeks. "I served it raw on purpose," I continued, my voice steady and clear, "because you're right about one thing. I'm losing something today. I'm losing a thieving son who stole $340,000 from me." I opened the folder and spread the bank statements across the table, right on top of the untouched sweet potatoes and green beans. They fanned out like a deck of cards, each one marked with yellow highlighter. "These are from First National Bank," I said, pointing to the first statement. "See that transfer on March 15th? $75,000, moved from my savings account to an account I didn't recognize. And this one from April 22nd, $60,000, May 30th, $45,000. Marcus had gone completely still. The color drained from his face like water down a sink. "Mom, I can explain. Let me finish." My voice could have cut glass. June 7th, $20,000, July 1st, another $30,000, August 12th, $55,000, September 26th, $40,000, October 9th, $15,000. I looked up at him. "Should I continue?" Jessica's hand had found her husband's arm. "Marcus, what is she talking about?" "I don't—" "Mom, you're confused. Those transfers were what?" I leaned forward. "Authorized by me? Necessary for some emergency you forgot to mention? Let me save you the trouble of lying. They weren't authorized. They weren't emergencies. They were theft." Sarah finally spoke up, her voice shaking with anger she'd been holding in for weeks. "Tell them how you did it, Marcus. Tell them about the power of attorney." My golden boy, my successful son, looked like he might be sick right there on my grandmother's china. "After your father died," I said, "I was overwhelmed. The paperwork, the accounts, the insurance claims. Marcus offered to help, said he'd handle the finances for a while just until I got my feet under me. I was grieving. I was lost. So I signed a power of attorney giving him access to my accounts." I pulled out another document. This power of attorney was supposed to be temporary. It was supposed to be for paying bills and managing day-to-day expenses. It was never supposed to be used to systematically drain your mother's life savings. "That money was—" Marcus started. "Was what? Yours? Let me tell you what that money was." I stood up, my hands flat on the table. "That was your father's life insurance. That was 40 years of careful saving. That was money we put away so I could live comfortably after he was gone. That was my security, my future, my peace of mind." Let me take you back to that day at the bank. 6 weeks ago, sitting in Martha's office, staring at a computer screen that showed my life being stolen in installments. "These transfers," Martha had said, pointing at the screen, "they all went to the same account. Did you open a joint account with Marcus recently?" "No." My mouth was dry. "Show me everything." She did. Martha printed out 18 months of statements, every transaction highlighted. The pattern was clear. Every few weeks, money disappeared. Sometimes large amounts, sometimes smaller. Always on different days. Never quite regular enough to seem automatic. Clever. Calculated. "The transfers were initiated online," Martha explained, "using your login credentials, but the IP addresses—" She pulled up another screen. "They're not from your home. They're from various locations around Chapel Hill. Coffee shops, the public library, Marcus's office building downtown." I sat there in that sterile bank office, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, and felt something inside me turn to stone. Not heartbreak, that would come later. This was something colder. Rage, maybe, or clarity. "Can you trace where the money went after it left my account?" Martha hesitated. "I can see it went to an account at Coastal Federal. After that—" She shook her head. "You'd need a lawyer, or the police." I hired both. The lawyer was a woman named Patricia Chen, recommended by my neighbor whose son had gone through an ugly divorce. Patricia sat across from me in her downtown office, reviewing the documents with the detached efficiency of someone who'd seen it all before. "Power of attorney cases are tricky," she said. "He had legal access to your accounts. The question is whether he exceeded the scope of that authority." "I gave him permission to pay my electric bill," I said, "not to steal my life savings." "Agreed. But we'll need to prove he acted against your interests, that he used the power of attorney for his own benefit, not yours. Do you have any idea what he did with the money?" I did, actually. That had been my project for the past month. While Marcus thought I was just a grieving widow who couldn't manage her own checkbook, I'd been digging. I'd hired a private investigator, a retired police detective named Frank Morrison, who charged reasonable rates and got results. Frank found that Marcus had used my money to pay off gambling debts, not the romantic Vegas kind, the desperate underwater kind, sports betting, online poker, some cryptocurrency scheme that collapsed. He'd lost it all, then lost more trying to win it back. The BMW, leased, and 3 months behind on payments. The nice house in the fancy neighborhood, mortgaged to the hilt with a second lien he'd taken out last year. The successful business career. His company had laid him off 8 months ago, and he'd been lying about having a job ever since. My son wasn't successful. He was drowning, and he decided to use me as his life raft. Back at the dinner table, Marcus had found his voice again. "You don't understand the pressure I was under," he said, standing up so fast his chair tipped backward. "The business expenses, the mortgage, Jessica's student loans." "My student loans?" Jessica's voice went up an octave. "Marcus, I paid those off 3 years ago. What are you talking about?" He didn't answer her, kept his eyes on me. "I was going to pay it back, Mom. All of it. I just needed time to get back on my feet. The job market's been tough and—" "You've been lying about having a job for 8 months," I said flatly. "Did you think I wouldn't find out? Did you think I was too old and stupid to hire an investigator?" That got his attention. "You hired an investigator?" "I hired a lawyer and an investigator." I pulled out more papers. "This is a report from Frank Morrison, retired detective. Want to know what he found? You were fired from Mackenzie Financial Group last February for performance issues. You've been leaving the house every morning pretending to go to work, but really you've been sitting in coffee shops applying for jobs you never get because your references are terrible." Sarah pushed her untouched plate away. "Tell her about the gambling, Marcus." "Sarah, stay out of this." "No." My daughter stood up, 34 years old and finally finding her spine when it came to her older brother. "Mom needs to know everything. You stole from her to pay gambling debts. You've been betting on sports, playing online poker, throwing money at cryptocurrency scams. You lost everything, then stole from Mom to try to win it back, and lost that too. Jessica's face had gone white. Is that where the money's been going? You told me your mother was loaning us money for the house renovations. You said she insisted on helping. She's lying, Marcus said desperately. Mom, you know you offered to help us. I never offered you a dime. My voice was ice. You stole it. Every single penny. He tried a different tactic, came around the table toward me, hands out like he was approaching a scared animal. Mom, I'm your son. Dad would want you to help me. He'd want you to... Don't you dare. I'd never used that tone with him before. Don't you dare speak about your father. Robert worked 60-hour weeks for 40 years to build that savings. He died thinking you were successful, thinking you'd be the one to take care of me if something happened. If he knew what you'd become, it would break his heart. I'm still your son. You stopped being my son the first time you logged into my bank account and stole from me. I gathered the papers, tapped them into a neat stack. You're a thief who happens to share my DNA. Jessica had started backing toward the hallway, her designer handbag clutched against her chest like a shield. Where are you going? Marcus demanded. Away from you. Her voice was shaking. How long? How long have you been lying to me? Jess, baby, just let me explain. Explain what? That you're a thief? That you stole from your own mother? That everything you told me about your job, about our finances, about our life was a lie? She turned to me. Carrie, I swear I didn't know. I thought... He showed me bank statements. He said we were doing well. He said your loans were gifts. I believe you, I said quietly. Because I did. Jessica might be shallow and materialistic, but she wasn't cruel, and the horror on her face was genuine. The house renovations, she continued, piecing it together. The new kitchen, the deck. That was all your money? Money he stole? $45,000, I confirmed. Transferred on May 30th. He told you I'd offered to help with renovations. He said you insisted. Said you wanted to see us in a nice home, that you'd rather spend your money on us while you were alive than leave it in a will. Tears were streaming down her face now, taking her carefully applied makeup with them. Oh my God, what else did you lie about? Marcus's face had gone from white to red. Everyone just calm down. Did you pay for that trip to Bermuda last summer? I asked Jessica. The one you posted all over Facebook? Marcus said it was a business conference, she whispered. I shook my head. $15,000 transferred June 7th. No conference, no business, just a vacation funded by theft. The BMW, Sarah added? That's not yours either, is it, Marcus? You're leasing it and you're behind on payments. Tell Jessica how you told Mom you needed $20,000 for a business investment, but really used it to catch up on the lease before they repossessed it. Jessica looked at her husband like she'd never seen him before. Who are you? I'm the same person I've always been. No, she cut him off. I married someone successful, someone honest, someone I respected. You're none of those things. You're a liar and a thief who stole from his own mother. She started walking toward the door. I need to leave. I need to think. Jessica, if you walk out that door, you'll what? Steal from me too? She grabbed her coat from the closet. I'm going to my sister's. Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't contact me at all until I figure out what I'm going to do about this marriage. Baby, please. The front door slammed. Through the window, I watched her get into her Lexus, another car I now suspected I'd paid for, and speed away. Marcus stood in my hallway watching his life unravel. Then he turned to me with something ugly in his eyes. You did this on purpose, he said, his voice low and dangerous. This whole dinner, the raw turkey, having Sarah here. You planned this. Of course I planned it. I walked back to the dining room, Marcus following me like a dog on a leash. Did you think I'd just let you get away with it? Did you think I'd be too embarrassed to tell anyone? Too ashamed that my own son was robbing me blind? You're going to destroy my marriage. you destroyed your marriage. The moment you started lying to your wife, I just exposed it." He slammed his hand on the table, making the china rattle. "What do you want? An apology? Fine, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I took the money. I'm sorry I lied. There. Happy? No, Marcus. I'm not happy. I'm furious. I'm heartbroken. I'm disgusted. I pulled out the final document from my folder, and I'm pressing charges." The anger drained out of him like air from a balloon. "What?" "This is a police report, filed 2 days ago with the Chapel Hill Police Department. Detective Rodriguez is handling the case. Elder financial abuse and theft. They're very interested in talking to you." "Mom, no, please. A criminal record will destroy me. I'll never get another job. I'll lose everything." "You've already lost everything. You just didn't realize it until tonight." Sarah handed me another document. "And this is a civil lawsuit. Patricia Chen filed it yesterday. We're suing you for the full amount of $340,000, plus interest, plus attorney fees, plus damages." Marcus collapsed into his chair, head in his hands. "I don't have that kind of money. You know I don't." "Then I'll take your house," I said simply. "The court will force you to sell it. I'll garnish any wages you do eventually earn. I'll file liens against any assets you have. I will pursue this until the day I die, or until you pay back every penny you stole, whichever comes first. You're my mother, and you're my son," which made what you did so much worse. I sat down across from him, suddenly exhausted. "Did you ever stop to think about what you were doing? Did it ever cross your mind that I might need that money? I'm 68 years old, Marcus. I'm living on a fixed income. That money was supposed to last me the rest of my life. It was supposed to pay for medical care if I got sick. It was supposed to let me stay in this house instead of some nursing home. It was my security, and you stole it for your gambling addiction. I was going to pay it back," he said again, but the fight had gone out of him. "When? When were you going to pay back $340,000? You don't have a job. You have debts of your own. You were never going to pay it back. You were just going to keep taking until there was nothing left." He looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. "What do you want me to do?" "I want you to turn yourself in. Detective Rodriguez expects you at the station tomorrow morning at 9. If you don't show up, there's a warrant ready to be issued for your arrest." Sarah crossed her arms. "You should also know that Mom changed all her passwords, closed all the joint accounts, and revoked your power of attorney. You can't access her money anymore, and I'm now her financial power of attorney. It should have been me all along." "Sarah's been helping me through this," I said. "Unlike you, she actually cares about my well-being more than my bank balance." "I care about you, Mom." "No, you don't. You care about what I can do for you. There's a difference." I stood up, gathering my documents. "Your grandmother's china, your father's watch collection, the antique furniture in this house. I'm changing my will tomorrow. You're getting nothing. Not one photograph, not one dish, not one memory. Everything goes to Sarah." "You can't do that." "I absolutely can, and I am." He tried one more time, dropped to his knees beside my chair in a grotesque parody of a child begging forgiveness. "Mom, please. I made mistakes. I have a problem. I need help, not jail. I'll go to therapy. I'll join Gamblers Anonymous. Just don't do this. Please." For a moment, just a moment, I felt a flicker of the love I used to have for this man. The boy who brought me dandelions from the yard, the teenager who defended me to his friends when they called me old-fashioned, the young man who cried at his father's funeral and promised to take care of me. But that boy, that teenager, that young man was gone. In his place was someone who'd looked at my trust and seen an opportunity, who'd looked at my grief and seen a weakness to exploit. "If you want help, get it," I said quietly. "But you're still facing the consequences of what you did. If you're watching this and thinking you could never let this happen to you, let me tell you something. I never thought it would happen to me either. But it did. And if you want to hear how this story ends, If you want to know what happened when Marcus faced the police, you need to subscribe to this channel right now. Because stories like this need to be told. Families need to know that elder abuse happens in nice houses with successful children. It happens to careful people who thought they were safe. Hit that subscribe button, because your support helps me share these stories that need to be heard. Now back to that Thanksgiving dinner. Marcus stayed on his knees for a long moment, then slowly got to his feet. "I'll never forgive you for this." "Good," I said. "That makes us even." He left that night without another word, didn't even take his coat. Sarah and I watched his BMW pull out of the driveway, probably for the last time. "Are you okay?" Sarah asked, putting her arm around my shoulders. "No," I admitted, "but I will be." The next morning, Marcus did show up at the police station. I know because Detective Rodriguez called me afterward. "Mrs. Mitchell, your son came in with his attorney this morning. He's cooperating with the investigation." "Is he admitting to what he did?" "His lawyer's calling it a misunderstanding regarding the scope of power of attorney. But yes, he's acknowledging the transfers occurred. The district attorney will decide whether to prosecute." They did prosecute. The case took 4 months to wind through the system. Marcus ended up pleading guilty to a reduced charge of financial exploitation of an elderly person. Part of the plea deal required him to enter a court-ordered treatment program for gambling addiction and to make restitution. The civil case moved faster. Patricia Chen was ruthless and efficient. Marcus's house went on the market in January. It sold in March for enough to pay back about 40% of what he'd stolen. The judge ordered the rest to be paid in monthly installments from any income Marcus earned, including unemployment benefits. "It's not everything," Patricia told me in her office after the judgment came down. "But it's something. And he can't discharge this debt in bankruptcy. He'll be paying this back for the rest of his life." I recovered about $180,000 total. The house sale, some money from their joint savings account that Jessica released as soon as she filed for divorce, and a few other assets the court seized. Was it everything? No. But combined with what I had left and my careful budgeting, it was enough. Jessica's divorce was finalized in June. She called me once, about 3 months after that Thanksgiving dinner. "I want you to know I had no idea," she said, "and I'm sorry. Sorry I didn't see what was happening. Sorry I was so caught up in the lifestyle that I didn't question where the money was coming from." "I know," I told her. "You were a victim, too." "I'm keeping my maiden name," she said. "I don't want anything to remind me of him." Marcus moved in with a friend after the house sold. He got a job as an assistant manager at a hardware store, a far cry from his supposed career in finance. 40% of his paychecks are garnished to pay me back. At his current rate, he'll be 75 years old before the debt is paid. We haven't spoken since that Thanksgiving. Not a single word. Sarah sees him occasionally. She's more forgiving than I am, but she tells me he's different now, quieter, humble in a way he never was before. Whether that's genuine change or just the weight of consequences, I don't know and don't particularly care. The police investigation revealed something else, too. I wasn't the only person he'd stolen from. He'd been forging his wife's signature on credit cards, taking cash from his former employer's petty cash fund. Small things, comparatively. But it painted a picture of someone who'd lost his moral compass entirely. The strangest part about all of this, I don't miss him. I thought I would. I thought there would be this huge hole in my life where my son used to be, but there isn't. Maybe it's because the son I thought I had never really existed, or maybe it's because the relief of not being stolen from anymore outweighs the loss. Either way, I sleep better now than I have in years. I'm still in my house in Chapel Hill, the roof I needed when all this started. I got it fixed last spring with money from the settlement. The Ireland trip I'd dreamed about? I went in September. Sarah came with me, and we scattered some of Robert's ashes at the cliffs of Moher like he always wanted. My life is smaller now in some ways. I'm more careful with money, more cautious about who I trust. but it's also bigger. I started this YouTube channel to tell my story, and I've heard from dozens of women, mostly around my age, who've experienced similar betrayals. Adult children stealing from aging parents is an epidemic nobody wants to talk about. But we're talking about it now. Sarah's doing well. She got a promotion at work, started dating a nice man who treats her right. She stops by every Sunday for dinner. Real dinner with properly cooked turkey when it's called for. As for Marcus, I don't know much about his day-to-day life, and I'm okay with that. I heard through a mutual friend that he's still in the treatment program, still working at the hardware store, still making those monthly payments. The friend thought I should know he's getting better. Like that's supposed to make me want to reconcile. I won't. Some people think I'm too harsh, that he's my son, that family should forgive. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean allowing someone to remain in your life after they've proven they'll hurt you if given the chance. I've forgiven Marcus in the sense that I don't actively wish him harm, but I also don't want him in my life. And I don't think that makes me a bad mother. It makes me a woman who finally learned to put herself first. That raw turkey sits in my mind as the perfect metaphor. Everyone expected me to serve them the traditional holiday meal, to play my role as the nurturing mother who provides and never complains. Instead, I served them reality, raw and uncomfortable and impossible to swallow. And you know what? I'd do it again. So that's my story. The Thanksgiving dinner that ended with $340,000 worth of truth on the table instead of a perfect golden turkey. I hope you never have to go through something like this, but if you do, I hope you remember that you have the right to protect yourself, even from your own children, especially from your own children. Until next time, this is Caroline from Chapel Hill. Take care of yourselves.